April 3rd, 2016, I got another new book. Uh, this is going to parallel Oppenheimer, because Oppenheimer was the scientist who came up and then eventually led the Manhattan Project. And Eisenhower, he was born, Kansas, came up, went to West Point, did the military route, became, the Supreme Commander of Allied Forces. So it's going to be interesting seeing these two together and to see where their paths lead and if they ever cross paths with each other. It's going to be interesting watching all that go down. But for this, the point I wanted to show you guys here is something that stuck out to me immediately because I experienced this myself. Is on page 24 and 25. I'll go ahead and read it out to you. Often the instructors knew little more than their students. This is about men and women, or I think just men at this point, went to West Point, which is a military academy for the Army. In integral calculus one day, the teacher ordered Eisenhower to do a long, complicated problem on the blackboard. The instructor had previously explained the problem and supplied the answer, but since it had been obvious to Eisenhower that the instructor was doing it entirely by rote, he had paid no attention. I do that a lot too. Thus, when called upon, he had not the foggiest notion of how to begin. After struggling for almost a full hour, he had finally tried a solution that, to his amazement, worked. He was asked to explain his solution. It was shorter and simpler than the route answer. But the instructor interrupted him to charge that he had merely memorized the answer and then put down a lot of figures and steps that had no meaning. Eisenhower could not abide being called a cheat. He began to protest so vehemently that he was soon in immediate danger of being expelled on charge of insubordination. He was a little hot-headed. Just then, a senior officer from the mathematics department walked in. He inquired about the trouble, had Eisenhower go through the solution again, then pronounced it superior to the one being used in the department and ordered it incorporated into the mathematics department's teaching. This is a real story. Eisenhower was saved, but just barely, for a flexible and sympathetic response from the authorities was unusual at West Point. In most cases, there was no room for discussion or exploration of new answers to old problems. There was no room for new answers to old problems. It's very conformist. English was composition, never literature. History was fact, never inquiry. It was all route learning, and Eisenhower was good enough at it that he could stay comfortably in the top half of his class without undue exertion. And I'm going to skip a few paragraphs and go directly to this because it pertains to what I'm going to discuss. Page 25 in the middle of the page. The West Point system is designed to find and break the nonconformist, and is usually successful. Edgar Allan Poe, a cadet in 1830, hated the, quote, God-forsaken place, and after less than a year, simply walked away. This is very important, I think, because it mirrors the graduate system. They want to teach you that this is how things are, and to hell with all your new ideas, all your new insight of way of looking at the world, and they pump you through the system. You have to accept every single bit of history that came before you, and never inquire as to, wait a second, were there other avenues of approach to take? Was there a better explanation for this? Was there an easier way to understand this? There's never any of that in the graduate system for astronomy or astrophysics. This is how it is. If you question the authorities, you could get a good chance of being, expelled or told that you cannot complete your degree because, of some mitigating circumstances. And that's not how it's supposed to be in graduate school, but apparently that's it. They want everybody to be in line to be on the path that everybody else went, to make sure everybody is on the same page. But what that does is that crushes creativity, it crushes new insight, and it crushes the human will to discover and create. And that's what they're doing to young minds these days, and it's horrible. They're literally mimicking a military academy in the graduate schools. That's not That's not where science is supposed to be. We're not supposed to be mimicking military academies. Military academies are supposed to pump out men who have instant willing obedience to orders, okay? Science is not that at all. Science is doing things differently. Science is an evolving construct. Everything changes every single day in the scientific communities. And not allowing for change means humanity and our understanding of nature stagnates and becomes like old moldy bread. And that's what's happened. That's why I can completely blast through all the nonsense of establishment astrophysics and geophysics. As well, the graduate system is designed literally to find and break the nonconformist. It's either conform or get kicked out. Because if you don't go with the group's understanding, the group's ideas, it's going to be really hard for you to make progress. So, in essence, there's only one, like, imagine you're on a tree, okay? There's only one branch to walk across. But trees don't have just one branch, do they? No. They have multiple branches. There are multiple ways of getting to where you want to go. But in the graduate system, they don't teach you that. They say, this is how everything works. If you don't do it this way, then either you're an idiot, you're not going to have a career, you're not going to be able to make progress in your own life. But that's not where we're headed. Alright, hopefully, if you guys want to read this book, I suggest getting it. It looks like it's going to be a really good book to read. I just started reading it. Hopefully it goes over a lot of other things like Eisenhower and his involvement with the CIA, of course when he was a military general, and various other ideas. Alright, later y'all.